Hi, my name's Pete Allnut. I'm the owner of Winescape. Through Winescape, we've processed over 7,000 sample requests and sold over 6 million litres of wine since 2011. This gives us a pretty good idea of what it takes to sell through the site, so we've come up with a few tips. So take a look, see what you think. A buyer will generally request samples between 10 and 20% above what they're prepared to pay. So there's not a lot of point in pricing a wine at $4 if you're willing to accept two. In this case, we would price a $2 wine maybe $2.20 to $2.40. Gives you a bit of space to negotiate with a buyer. If you put too much on the wine initially, then the buyer just won't request samples of that particular wine. So try to avoid overpricing. When a buyer is ready to buy, they want to move quickly. So it's very important that suppliers respond fast to any correspondence through the site. So if you get a sample request or if you get an offer, you stand a much better chance of getting a positive response if your sample requests are out quickly and your offer is either accepted, counter-offered or rejected fast. So get the deal done quick, and that's the quickest way to a positive outcome through Winescape. A deadline for delivery of samples is contained in the sample request notice that you'll receive via email. Deadline is a deadline for obvious reasons, but particularly with bulk wine, it's important to get samples delivered to your buyer on time. Often a deadline is attached to a meeting that's organised between stakeholders, and if you miss delivery of wine to that meeting, then you miss the chance to sell your stock. So make sure you hit those deadlines. Okay, so on Winescape, you can actually upload any spelling of a variety. So if you want to spell Cabernet with a K, you can put it into our unfiltered sheet and upload it. The problem with that is that buyers will not find it in our list. They won't be looking for Cabernet with a K. They'll be looking for Cabernet Sauvignon abbreviated to CABS, which is in line with our listing convention. So try to make sure you list your stock in line with our listing convention. You can see the convention on our help, and we do have a tutorial on it. So have a look at that and make sure you list within that convention. Okay, so look, it's really important that samples are prepared properly and professionally. Samples that arrive looking tired at a buyer are almost always pushed to one side and not considered. We do not get buyers ringing us and saying, look, got this sample, didn't look so flash, can you send us another one? They don't do that, they go to the next alternative. So there's really only one chance to impress a buyer when you've got a bulk wine transaction in front of you. So it's very important to send a well-prepared sample. Okay, so Winescape listings expire after 30 days if they haven't been refreshed or updated. The reason for this is that we want buyers to come to the site and see data that's up to date and relevant, and this makes it a more efficient market. So look, if your listing does expire, try to get it refreshed as soon as you can. Every day that the listing is not up and on Winescape is a day where you could miss out on an opportunity to sell. We do try and stay across it as much as possible, and we will call people and ask them to refresh their listing, but If the supplier does this, then it saves us having to make 400 or 500 calls, which is of course tough on any given day. So try and keep your listings up to date. We have many clients where the boss of the business is not the key contact for Winescape. Many of the tasks within Winescape are simplified and can be run by a junior or a less experienced person on your staff. Where a senior person needs to make a decision, the contact can grab that person, get that decision and implement it through Winescape. This does a couple of things. First of all, it frees up the senior personnel in your company to do other things rather than be over a website, and it also teaches your junior or your less experienced staff member how to move around bulk wine or fruit or bottled wine for that matter. So consider putting a less experienced person in as your contact for Winescape. Okay, so watch buyer tenders through Winescape. There are two ways the buyer can access the market. They can either request samples directly from our market list, or they can post a tender. A tender is basically a set of details about a wine that a buyer is looking for. They can add information about terms, wine style, variety, GI or vintage. Once a supplier sees a tender that is suitable, they can attach listed wine to that tender. When the tender closes, sample requests are generated for attached wine. So effectively the supplier will be into that deal. The reason suppliers must watch the tenders is we don't know what a supplier is holding outside of what they've listed with us. So if an opportunity comes up on a tender for a wine that you've got outside of your listings with Winescape, we won't know that you're holding that wine. So the only way to take advantage of those opportunities is to keep a close eye on the tender and list any wine that is suitable on Winescape and then attach it to that tender. Any queries on tenders, give us a call, or we do have other tutorials on those. So make counter offers on low offers. We don't police offers through Winescape, so if a buyer receives a sample from you and you've listed it at $3 and they send back an offer for 50 cents, we don't police that. We have no way of stopping it, and we don't really want to. Our aim is to provide an open market mechanism. Our advice is, if you do get a really low offer, is to put in at least one counter offer. The buyer then knows exactly where you stand, and if it's a counter offer it'll be a price that you'll accept. If they put another low offer in, at that point you can reject the offer. At least you've had a go at getting your price. We like to see deals get every chance of surviving, so throw in at least one counter offer for a price that you'll accept to a low